I didn't know where to start really. you know, yeah, it was very overwhelming. But so Anne started talking to her friends at school. She told the teacher, and I was the PTO president. Yeah, I became the PTO president in the school. Yes, and that as well happened so by accident. Yeah, I'll get into that later. So what happened is that the principal of the school called me. Um, she called me and she was like, Jen, I hope you are doing well. And I've been interacting with this principal. I'll get into those things later. So she called me and she was like, yes, Jennifer, I've heard that you are getting a divorce. I was like, huh? How? Yeah, how did you hear that? She was like, well, your daughter Anne has been sharing this news with her teachers and her friends, and the news came to me. I was like, what is Anne talking about in school? Yeah, she's been saying that she's gonna have a house with her mom, and she's gonna have two homes, and she was very excited about it. So I was like, okay. Um, so she was like, will you keep will you keep her in the school? And I was like, no, I will not be able to do that. As you know, I will have financially that will not be sustainable on my end, because what John has told me after the divorce was that will no longer, he was not even paying for it. That this is his mom stepping in, that I will no longer pay for the bilingual school, which was fine because there were a lot of things that were surfacing with that experience, and I'll get into it later. So that totally worked for me. But the principal, the director, the founder, really, not the principal, the founder of the school called me as she heard the news from Anne making all this noise in the school and celebrating the divorce of her parents. Um, and she told me that she would really appreciate it if I stay in the school, if I consider staying, because what I have built in terms of community is really she wanted to thank me for everything I've done, in terms of creating and setting up the type of community that she always wanted in place for that school, and that they have some assistance program that I can apply for, and I might not even need to pay for it. She will do something, she will push things so I won't have to pay. And I was like, wow. No, I am honored by your call, and I am honored by this offer. But it is time for Anne to go to an American school. So that's where we left things. And as we went into some play dates with gatherings with some other parents in the school, some parents approached me as well and started saying, Jen, my kid has been telling me that I should also get divorced like Anne's parent, because Anne is going to have two houses, and he's so excited and he's just talking about it, and now my kid is also telling me that I should get divorced like you and have my own place. So I was like, what is going on with Ed? So I was like, it was great that she was taking it so positively, but I allowed her to enjoy that high, really not having to focus on that part of the transition at that juncture was very beneficial for me. It really allowed me to focus on my career. And so I was able to find a job. I got the beautiful salary. But and as soon as I got the job, I left the house. I found the apartment. I set myself up, and my credit was very bad. right? Because everything was under John's name. We kept everything under his name because at the early juncture in my forging there, as Cheska stepped in and gave me that huge bill that I was navigating, my credit score took a dive in the negative, right? So when John and I got married and things like that, he had a credit card already, so he just added my name to it. So that was the only credit card we had. So basically, his credits it was under his name, and I was just an addition. So his credit score was improving, but I never really worked on mine. Everything was under his name. So even when we bought the house, you know, the loan, we got a small loan, and the loan was under his credit, you know, under his name. So because we were partners, I wasn't anticipating and thinking about any of those things. You know, I just let him, we just worked together in that sense. So when the divorce came into play and I was trying to forge myself now, those things became a problem. So I had to put on security deposit. I rented a 2-bedroom apartment. And all of that was fine. I was paying a lot in rent because the neighborhood I was staying in order to stay close to John, also, you know, was high, the type of place I wanted to stay in, you know. So the 401k allowed me to navigate and to purchase furniture and to really set myself up well. You know, so at that juncture, that's when Manny, Derek's best friend, also came and asked me for money, and I gave. And that's when Tom, who was a high school friend of mine, who got access to me, who, you know, through Manny, right? Manny was talking about him, and I was like, okay, fine, give me his contact information, and Manny gave it to me. And Tom was started reaching out to me as well for money, you know, and I sent money to my dad. So as I sent money to my dad, what happened a couple of days after I sent him money, because I sent him money, and I told him I am divorced, and I don't know, as I'm forging my career, I don't know where it's gonna take me. So I'm sending you this amount of money so you can set yourself up, because I don't know when I will be able to send you money again. So here, set yourself up and take care of yourself, and I'm gonna go navigate my career, right? So this is the conversation I have with my dad. And 2 days after that, Cheska called me and told me and started talking about how my dad is going through a hard time financially, you know, because he started, I'll get into all of those things later. So as she was saying all of these things, I'm like, when did you talk to dad? She was like, yesterday. I'm like, you talked to dad yesterday and he told you all of that? She was like, yeah, you know, he doesn't have money, you know, he's going through a hard time. And I was so shocked. I'm like, but I just sent dad money a couple of days ago. And she was like, you sent dad money? I was like, yeah, I just sent him a substantial amount of money. How is it? You spoke to him yesterday, are you sure? She was like, yeah, I spoke to him yesterday and he was going through a hard time financially. Yeah, so I let Cheska talk, and I hung up, and I called my dad right after. Called him, and I was like, so, because he invested in a farm. He's investing in a farm, and he's doing all of this. He's retired and he's investing. So I told him, So the farm that you're investing in, this is for you, right? You are doing this for fun, to have fun at your retirement. This is your project, yeah? He was like, yeah, I'm doing this, and it's good. Okay, so as you are navigating all of this, you will not sink your family with it. This is something you're doing for fun. You don't have to do it. You have your retirement salary. You can choose to sit still and enjoy the rest your retirement, but you are choosing to invest money into the farm and for fun. So as I am sending you money and you are making noise with my sibling, it ends with me. I will not participate in it. Yeah, this is how I speak to my dad. He got mad. Yeah, I can sense the rage. He said nothing. He held it in. I was like, I'm not gonna participate. I have told you that I'm navigating my career. I am starting from fresh. And when I told him about my divorce, the first thing my dad said to me, it was like, because I told him I went through a lot of things with John. I didn't go into any detail. I said I went through a lot of things with John, and I want to set myself up. I want to discover what is out there for me. And the only response my dad gave me was that whatever you need to discover, you cannot discover it from your marriage. Yeah, none of them. It was me. I enabled all of this, right? Yeah, so I set this boundary with my dad, and he was really mad. And I'll get into all of this because he repeated the same pattern as with my mom. He repeated it with my stepmom, and she left him. And when she left him, I was there for him. Yeah, we were all there for him. Yeah, I'll get into that. So when I was navigating my divorce, and I sent him money to set him up, to make sure that he doesn't come back and he goes through anything negative while I am reforging my career, he started making noise with my sibling. So I set this boundary with him, and he was upset. No worry. Then Manny came, and I sent money to Manny. And as I went to Derek to express what was happening, because Manny came, one of the driver who was introduced to me by Derek also started asking me money. Manny's brother started coming in, and then Tom who came to me to Manny started coming and asking me for money. And as I was navigating all of that, and Tom, who was a high school friend of mine, right? We had a theater team. Yeah, I was really into arts and theater when I was young. That was in high school. That was one of my passion. So, and it's so beautiful because it's through that experience that I was able to navigate my sexual abuse, right? Isn't that beautiful? It's only now that things are getting connected, right? Through this acting, theater, and participating in this thing, it has helped me really being able to act, right? Yeah, and that was Tom. Tom and another high school friend of mine, two boys and me, right? I was always surrounded by men, you see? This is how this masculine aspect of me got forged. We were in a theater group, and we went in on TV. We went into some national, regional contest, and we came in second place. And I'll get into those things later. And we had a group, and we'll go to weddings, and we'll perform, and we'll get paid for it. Yeah, and I also did commercials. I did a commercial that would pass on TV. So I was really into art, and we were on TV for this show. It was like a very popular show. Yeah, so as I was navigating that, my dad got transferred to the US, right? So all of that was left behind. So when I reignited with him, all of those things flooded back, Yeah, And Tom is renowned. He was into spirituality. Benin is known for Vodou. It's one of the pillar of which is a spiritual religion, where they interact with Mother Nature through certain incantation and rituals. You know, so Benin is a very renowned spiritual country. People joke about this. They're like, in Benin, you have like about 60% Catholics, and 40% Muslims, but 100% 100% voodoo practitioners, because it's embedded in the culture. There are things. We have the day of Vodou, and Vodou is not the same as voodoo in Haiti. It's not the same. The voodoo in Haiti was, of course, influenced by the slave trade, because Benin was one of the countries where slaves were being traded from, and I'll get into those things later. So he, through our interaction, has revealed to me that he was an adept of Vodou. He followed someone who was very renowned in that area, a priest who was very renowned, and he was an adept, and he practices and whatever. And I was like, interesting, because when we reconnected, and he asked for money, I sent it to him, and then he will ask again, and he was into art. He was trying to, he kept the practice. He remained into art. That was his career. He was a comedian. He remained a comedian. He followed through with his passion. So he was talking to me about what he was trying to forge in Benin, and talk about our culture, our dances, and things like that, which was very admirable. I was really impressed by what he was trying to build, because art is very important. It's one of the aspects of any culture where we get to evolve. So I wanted to encourage that. He would share certain videos with me, and I was like, great. So when he was trying to do something and put something in place, he would ask if I can assist him, if I can contribute, if I want to make a donation towards this event he was trying to put in place, in terms of some cultural event relating to Benin's rich cultural experiences. So I will support. I will send him some money, and he would tell me that he wants to put my name in it. That's when I would set up boundaries. I was like, that's not necessary. That's just noise. I am not looking for that type of noise, because that's how people bind you to certain things. That's when things started getting revealed, right? He started talking about my brother. When people talk about my brother, that's how they reveal themselves. He was like, I know your brother very well, because my brother has always been involved into that world, spiritual voodoo type of manipulations and stuff. They use the negative aspect of it, right? So as soon as he mentioned that at a point, they revealed themselves naturally. At that point, I was getting to some financial struggle, right? This was 2021, right? Just 2021. After the divorce in February, I had a job, and I had to let go of that job. And I'll get into those things later. Let's not diverge. So I let go of that job, and I found so the 401k was allowed me to pay for rent as I was navigating my career, you know. So Tom came and was constantly asking for money, and you know, as he exposed my brother, he brought up my brother, he got my attention, you know. So I started sending him certain, he will talk about spirituality, he will show me certain of videos that he will make in terms of, you know, having this conversation. And I will have some certain debate with him. I will tell him this is not the way to approach it, right? I will show him my way of my perspective. I'll share with him my perspective about my view on certain spiritual practices, you know, because I will show him that this is just control, this is manipulation. You have to do it differently. You have to approach it from a place of love, you know. And I will start exposing certain things to him, you know. So as I reached a certain juncture, and Manny was also asking for money, and I reached out to Derek to express my concern with what I was observing, and Derek, um, you know, lashed on to me, telling me that, you know, he never asked me to give my information to Manny. You know, I was the one who took his number. At a point, I reached out to Manny to set my own boundaries, right? And Manny, as I was about to slap him with my golden dick, Manny was like, "Ah, oh, Jen, you don't have to do anything. I spoke to Derek and he pulled my ear. Yeah, I know. You know, not only Derek did not allow me to speak about what I was observing, but he went behind my back um, to speak to Manny about what he did, right? So he even took that away from me. You know, all that showed me that is that this guy did not trust me, and you know, he will keep, he goes behind my back to do certain things, um, which was yeah. Anyway, so I told Manny, fine, and as I set boundaries with Manny, you know, I set boundaries with Manny. I was like, that's it. I want silence. You know, I no longer want to be rich because he'll keep making noise, reach out to me. I was like, no, you only got access to me through Derek. This ends with me. So I set boundaries with Manny. I said with Tom, he started sending me certain incantation, and I exposed him, right? I reached a point where my finances were fully gone. The job, I left go of the second job I had. It was not, there were certain abuses happening in the workplace. I didn't know what was going on. Everything was going wrong. John was harassing me for payments, for extracurricular activities, you know, and I'll get into that, it's coming. Yeah, so I told Tom, I came to the point where I watched myself. Tom called and called me and said certain things to me, and I watched myself sending my rent money. I could not stop myself, you know. Yeah, Benin is renowned for that. You guys heard, because it's right next to Nigeria, and these emails you get about these Nigerian prince, you know, asking for money and things. They use these incantations, you know, and the way they grab people is through guilt, you know. And I had always, this is how things started getting exposed, right? As Tom did that, and I watched myself sending him my last rent money. I didn't know how to, I was gonna go pay rent. When I watched that, I called him, and I was like, You do not need to do this with me. I exposed him. I was like, this is not the way, you know. And he started saying, oh, Jen, you you know, I showed him, I was like, you have to approach things with love, because if you go this route, uh, you're only gonna suffer, you know. You do not know who you're fucking with, because I already went through that with my brother. It took me a long time, you know. So that experience with Tom was just reviving things I went through with my brother, and I'll get into it, it's coming, right? So as I exposed him, you know, I understood that it was through guilt that he was able to get those things and influence me in this way. So I called him and I exposed him and I told him, this is not the way to do it, right? I am a single mom. I just got divorced and I'm trying to forge myself. Yes, the way things look, it looks like it's presented, because I don't complain, you know. For me, everything is a lesson, you know. Everything, no matter what happens to me, I'm like, I try to take it and learn from it and move on. I don't feel resentful towards people. I don't punish anybody, you know. I make peace with it and I move on. So as I was navigating all of these things, and I got to the point where I was watching myself give my rent money to this person, you know, I knew what was happening. So I called him and I was like, no, you have to do it differently. This is not the way. He was like, oh, Jan, you know, thank you for sending me the money. You know, I'm going through a lot as well, blah, blah, blah. So he kept trying. And at that point, I started setting up boundaries, right? He would tell me, I don't have money. I went to a funeral and blah, blah, blah. I would just say, I wish it for you. This is a gift. When people reach out and ask you, or you see homeless people asking for money, do not judge, do not wish them well, do not condemn, right? Just all you have to say is, I wish it for you with all your heart. You see, that's how I started learning how to not anchor myself in love. It's beautiful. It comes with these experiences and it's very frightening, right? Because at the end of the day, I am on my own, right? Um, you know, so at that point he started coming and he was like, wow, Jen, I knew you were spiritually strong, but you know, I knew there was always something about you, but I didn't realize how strong you were. You see, he's been trying again, and it did pass, because now he got my attention. You know, I was navigating a lot with Derek, you know, I was distracted, and with John harassing me with payments. So emotionally things were starting to surface, and with my family, you know, as I was juggling all of this and people kept coming, you know, watching myself selling my rent money, he got my attention and I set up boundaries. So I told him, now I called him and I was like, this ends with me. Now I want silence. Everybody comes with noise. It's noise like static, energetically. This is all I hear. Sometimes when people come in, it's like, shh. That's all I hear. This is why I always tell John. John came with the biggest noise. It's like I can hear anything when I'm around John, because it's like the fear, all of this intention is what I hear, right? The intention, so toxic, you know. So every time I tell John I need quiet, all, you know, linear. All he says is like, but you're always alone. He came with so much noise, and I didn't know how to explain this to people, because I see energy, I hear energy, you know. I don't hear the superficiality or what people, the mask people present me. I see the essence they present me with, you know. Yeah, so Tom came with such noise, and I told him, now I want silence. I blocked him, remove. This is how I reclaim my love, you know. My presence speaks for itself, right? So I reclaim my love and I set boundaries. Now you are on your own. What happened? He went to jail. Yeah, went to jail after that. Yeah, called me from jail, begging for me to help, you know. That's what happens when I remove my love, the mirror. It gets back. Whatever you project just returns back to you. That's when people face themselves. It's when I remove my love that they face themselves. They cannot navigate all the projections they send my way. It's okay. Time to shut the fuck up. It's when I become quiet, you have to start worrying. Yeah, so help me set boundaries. And that was 2021. So at that point, what was happening is that John was starting to send me all these PayPal requests, because we shared the phone bill together. And in one of the agreements in our marriage was that he was going to pay, because I didn't have a job before I filed for divorce, right? Because I was so drained. I just need to navigate everything intuitively, one step at a time. I need to free myself from certain things before I can look at the next step, right? So first I needed to that detachment from the marriage to be able to finally dedicate energy towards finding a job, right? So one of the agreement in our marriage, in our marriage agreement, was that he was going to take care of the extracurricular activities, because most of the extracurricular, one of the main one, which was summer camp, was paid by his mom. Most of the large items, his mom paid for it. Some of the dance classes, she paid for it, right? So in the marriage agreement, I was like, that would be his responsibility. And if I do find a job and I stabilize myself, then either way I will pay for things I signed and up for. So the marriage agreement dictated that it was his responsibility. So after the divorce, what happened? And took some ice skating classes and sewing classes, but they happened on the weekend. So John started saying that because he's on the weekend, that in the marriage agreement, it was not his responsibility, that we needed to share those things. So he would send me like PayPal bills every month requesting those payments. And as I was navigating all of this with my finances, I came to a crash, right? I couldn't find a job. I didn't know what was going to happen. And John was sending me these bills. And as soon as he sent it, he would call me and he would say, have you paid it? Have you paid it yet? And after our divorce, he was raving that his uncle gave him a raise.